The member for Ottawa West Nepean.
Beds don't equal surgery, Speaker. A bed without a nurse is just furniture. At the Ottawa Hospital, we're seeing the many serious consequences of not having enough nurses. Patients are waiting days to be admitted even though beds are available because there's no nurse to staff the bed. Surgeries are being cancelled even as patients are entering the operating room because there's no nurse. And recently, a patient who showed up for chemo was sent home without it because there was no nurse to administer it. Will the government act swiftly to fill these nursing shortages so that every patient in Ontario gets the care they need?
Reply, Premier.
Well, thank you for that question. And by the way, I spoke to Cam Love. What a great CEO, probably one of the best in the province. And you know, he assured me as well that they're going to make sure that they have the proper staffing. And how we're helping the hospitals across the province is a stay and learn program, that we're going to pay for the tuition of the nurses. We're going to make sure that they're taken care of for any expenses they have as long as they serve in underserved areas. And with Ottawa, I got to tell you, I think the world of Cam Love. He drives an efficient hospital. But again, as he said, and every other CEO that are feeding us information to help the system, every one of them said the same thing. You can't stay with the status quo under the Liberals and NDP that destroyed this system for 15 years, Mr. Speaker. We're going to continue investing into the hospitals, into nurses. And again, I just want to remind people the numbers. We added 14,500 nurses since 2018. Those are staggering numbers.
The supplementary question.
It feels like there's two realities here, Speaker, the one the government is living in and the one that my constituents and our hard-working healthcare workers live in. The Ottawa Hospital is short more than 500 nurses, and this government's actions to date are a drop in the bucket compared to the scale of the crisis. There are nurses in Ottawa who are working 16-hour shifts, 12 out of 14 days, Speaker, just to fill nursing shortages. Just imagine trying to provide good care while working that many hours, not to mention the risk of mistakes. No wonder nurses are leaving the profession. Will the government repeal Bill 124 and address working conditions so that we keep nurses instead of driving them away?
Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you propped up the Liberals and you fired 1,600 nurses, we actually recognized the nurses and gave them a 7.6% increase, a $5,000 thank you bonus for doing an incredible job. We're investing another $342 million to add 5,000 more nurses to the system. We're adding 8,000 personal support workers, Mr. Speaker. We're investing $57 million to hire 225 nurses, the long-term care sector that are desperately needed. Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue to invest in health care. We're going to continue making sure that as long as our government's here, people are going to be using the OHIP card instead of the credit card. But guess what? We can't do the same status quo. Status quo has been broken. We're going to fix it. We're going to deliver health care in a different fashion through the sector's advice, not through our government's advice, through the experts' advice, the docs, the nurses, anyone involved in care, in taking care of the great health care system that we do have in Ontario.
I remind the members to make their comments through the chair. Final supplementary.
Well, now I know, Speaker, that the government lives in an alternate reality because I've never fired a nurse or propped up the Liberals in my life. Last week, I had the chance to sit down with nurses from ONA Local 83, and they told me that every day they go to work feeling scared. They wonder, who will I not get to today, and what will the consequences be? It is only a matter of time until the consequences for someone are deadly. This is an unfair burden to put on our hard-working healthcare heroes and terrifying to patients across Ontario. Will this government finally listen to nurses and implement the solutions they are calling for, starting with repeal of Bill 124?
The Government House Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The member is quite correct. There has been, of course, a great burden on healthcare providers for a long time in the province of Ontario. And I know the member referenced the fact that she wasn't here, but the reality is that the NDP and the Liberals did work together for many years, and the changes that they refused to make put us in a very difficult situation. Now, the Premier, of course, has highlighted many of the investments that we're making, but it didn't just start recently. We started with the transition to Ontario health teams because a lot of people told us that the quality of care that they were getting is good if they could get into the system. So we started the transition to Ontario health teams. We brought on new nurses. We brought on more medical professionals, a medical school in Brampton, a medical school in Scarborough, so that we could educate more doctors right here in the province of Ontario, keep them here working in communities across the province. We had a low ICU capacity. The Premier said that had to be changed, so we've increased ICU capacity across the province of Ontario. We're educating more nurses. We're fixing long-term care. It is about building an integrated system that works for all of the people of the province of Ontario, and that's exactly what we're doing.